Hi, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on Sports Illustrated and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider podcast. It is great to be with you today. Thanks for joining me. I am really looking forward to getting into today. It's going to be your questions and your emails. We've started doing that on Mondays now, and we're going to dig in. We got a lot of them. Now, I've been asked by my staff to share a couple things with you. Number one, please do not forget, one email a week. And if you email more than once a week, it just automatically goes to a spam folder. And I don't want that to happen because there's a lot of people in there. And invariably, every week in Lot J or um, I'll run into Raider fans and somebody will say, "Hey, I don't know why my emails are never picked." And I'll say, "What's your name?" And they'll give me their name or whatever, and I'll check and they'll say, "No, we're not getting them. They're going into spam." So I'm just giving you a heads up warning. We get so many that I want to read them, but please understand, sometimes we may get 30 or 40 on the same subject. This week we got over 100 on one subject, the officiating. And so it's not that yours isn't selected. Usually they try to go with the one that maybe best uh, the best fits that best fits the general theme of everyone else's emails. I mean that's happens a lot. Sometimes they just go with the first one. I don't know how it works. I don't make all those decisions, but just please be mindful of that. Remember, you can email me at Spartan Nation Mail, MAIL at yahoo.com, and put in the subject line Raiders Q&A. All right, let's get right into it. Matt S. in North Carolina says, does AP survive this? Fascinating question there. And it didn't come from a point of I hate AP or whatever. He just literally wanted to know. I'm going to be very blunt. I believe that Mark Davis likes AP. I don't know anybody in the building that doesn't like AP. I sincerely don't know anyone who doesn't. Mark has not said anything to critical of AP, and I think a lot is going to depend on how this season ends. I don't know that that's a decision even that's been made, but I think there's a lot that can be done to stamp AP's return. I think a win on Black Friday would have been huge, but I don't know. And it would be purely speculative at this point. And if I'm being purely speculative, I don't know. I don't think it's definitive that he does. I certainly think when the Raiders have got to get to some level of continuity. I said this when they hired him, that I felt like they needed to make a commitment to ride this train. But I don't know, and I'm not going to pretend. So anything I gave would be purely speculative because I don't think anybody knows. I think there's a lot of people that suspect that there will be a coaching change. And I don't know I don't even know that has a lot to do with how the season is went. I think there's a lot that feel like there could be a change, even if the season had been a 9-8 campaign or an 8-9 campaign. So I don't know. It's purely speculative. And at this point, Matt, I don't have enough. Sometimes I'll have enough information to say, in my opinion, and usually when I give an opinion, it's because I have some factual basis. I don't have any here. I don't know. Don't know. All right, let's talk about the next one. Comes to us from James O. in Fresno, California. You've talked about hiring mistakes. Do you think that the hiring mistakes led to the regression of Aiden O'Connell? Okay, let me say this before. I've addressed this once before, James, but I'll address it here again. Bobby Bowden, the world famous former West Virginia, then Florida State national championship winning coach, had lunch with Bobby Bowden one day and spent the day with him. And we were talking about coaching and evaluating. And one of the things he said is if one player is having an issue, that's on the player. But when you start to see multiple players having struggles, that's on coaching. The fact that Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell both went backwards is squarely on coaching. Squarely on coaching. Now, I'm going to be very blunt with you. I liked the Getsy playbook. I thought it was very creative, very creative. And I even at times during the year says, hey, that was great play calling and great creativity. But you would see, especially after the first quarter, sometimes the first half, it just completely went to crap, for lack of a better term. And I'm not trying to be vulgar, it's just the truth. Went right down the crapper. And that stuff just made no sense. I think it clearly was on coaching. And one of the biggest reason that this season went sideways right out of the gate was the decision of that OC staff. I'll get into more of that in a minute. But, my father used to always teach that the number one reason for failure in any organization, it could be a business, it could be a family, it could be a group of friends, it could be a church, a synagogue, it could be a mosque, it could be anything. The biggest reason for an organizational failure is leadership. And so when you're hiring these coaches, it was a brutal, brutal hiring. And it crippled it, and it started out bad from the very beginning. Next one is from Ben in Syracuse, New York. It says, I'm perplexed. First of all, he was very kind. I want to make that very clear. This was not a person being a jerk. Complimented the podcast, but said he was perplexed when I talked about the post game that I didn't question AP's decision with the third down play call. Okay, I think this was a super fair criticism, Ben, and I don't have a problem addressing any of my critics, and they're not vulgar or foolish about it. I have no problem, and I appreciate you asking. I had several people wanting to know why didn't I address it and if I would. You may remember their plan was to try to eat up some more clock and kick on fourth down. Okay. I disagree with that. At an end of game scenario, I would have tried kicking on third down because what if it's a bad snap? It's cold, it's windy. What if there had been a bad snap? I would have just gone the third down route in that situation, especially when at this point you're clearly within Carlson's range. The three kicks he missed 55, 56, 58. To me, anytime a kicker goes past 52, I'm not going to hold a miss against him. I'm not doing it. And I've seen Daniel Carlson hit kicks from more than 55, 56, and 58. I think one time in practice, I mentioned I saw him hit like a 63-yarder. The first one was into the wind, so I don't blame him one bit for losing that one. The other two, I think you can absolutely question, not question him, but you can just say, well, you can question him from a standpoint, that's it's pretty long and less than perfect conditions. But that kick going the other direction, if there would have been any wind, it would have been minimal. But if there would have been any wind, it would have gone with him. I still would have kicked it on third down. That's a very fair. I still think the ending, with the officiating, the fact that they never got to kick it on fourth down. If they'd went to kick it on fourth down and they had fumbled the football, I would have said bad decision. Should have kicked it on third down, especially an end of game scenario. And I understand they're trying to take as much time off the clock, but you also have to give a little respect to your defense that had been stopping him. It wasn't like he was going to go down the field in 15 seconds. So, or I certainly would have taken that gamble. So, yeah, I think it's fair to question that. I probably should have mentioned it. I was just so flabbergasted by the officiating that took up the massive amount of my time. And to be quite frankly, even though I thought about it, I didn't think it was relevant. because they didn't get to even try it on fourth down. But I think your question, and obviously a lot of people agreed with you. So that's why I wanted to address that, Ben. Thank you for that. That's from Syracuse, um, New York. Says Hondo, what can the NFL do to convince fans that the games aren't fixed? Leo L. Um, or excuse me, Leo C. Leo, I'm going to tell you right now. I want to make this very clear. I don't think the games are rigged. I know too many officials that um, are men of integrity, but boy, the officiating is terrible. And I've already addressed this. The NFL needs to come out and start making officials, when they make the massive blunders, make them face the media, suspend them, get rid of them. There are a ton of officials at the high college level that would love to ref in the NFL. And when you're seeing guys and gals who continually make mistakes, it's not like you have no other options. I mean, let's not pretend that there are only 6 NFLs left on officials on planet Earth. This is a high value job, a great paying job, part-time job, may I add. Although I think making it full-time would help. But I think they've got to come out and start demonstrating discipline of officials. I have talked to multiple officials who've all told me they would support that. I've had one official, an NFL official, say to me, I have no problems talking to the media on any call that I make. I would have no problem with that. So he told me, he goes, I'd have no problem with that. I think that's a great idea. He goes, I don't know why we can't. We're grown men. We're professionals. I don't get it. I don't understand it. And to me, the I I believe, and I've been told this, so I believe it based upon things I've been told, that the NFL's mentality is, hey, as long as you're talking about us, it's a good thing. I disagree if you get to a place where people just don't respect the integrity of the game. I don't think it's fixed, but I think they need to be proactive about it. I'm going to tell you later this week on Saturday, John Shop is going to join me, my buddy who's the attorney and the esteemed media member. And I've got a question for him that's going to blow your mind as an attorney. And make sure you don't miss that podcast. I'm not going to say the exact person's name who gave it to me, but I will give you enough information that you'll be able to know they are fully connected to the NFL, and they literally begged me to ask John a question, and I'm gonna get it to you, and you don't want to miss that on Saturday. But I thought that was a very fair question you asked there, Leo. Um, I think that's a very, very fair question. The next one comes to us from Jason J in Jersey. It says, no wonder fans question the NFL. What are they going to do? When are they going to do something about it? Well, James, I just said a minute ago, and I reiterate, I am going to be at the NFL owners meetings next week. I hope to ask Roger Goodell about it. And I'm going to tell Roger, I don't believe the game is rigged. So I'm not coming at it with that. But do you agree that more needs to be done to ensure the integrity of the game? More needs to be done to ensure the integrity of the game. I'm gonna again, if Roger makes himself available, I'm in and I'm asking. I'll be at the owners' meetings. And I hope to ask a lot of people around the NFL about it. I'll be there next week, next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday and Thursday. I'll be in Irving, Texas, and I'll be there getting all the latest for you. So make sure you're watching from the owners' meetings. By the way, all next week, it's going to be some great podcasts and some great stuff for you. Next, this one comes to us from Michael B. in Charlotte, North Carolina. Why did Scott Turner not start the season as offensive coordinator? Great question. There's a ton of respect. AP has great respect for Scott. I believe there was sentiment above AP that him being a first time coach, it would benefit him to have an experienced DC, which he has in Patrick Graham, and more experienced OC. That's what I believe the scenario was. And obviously, I don't think that was the right. I think Scott was the right one. And I thought it was very smart of AP when he made the decision to broom good men, but not good offensive coaching, and bring in Scott. Fouled his gut. I like that. That's why I talked about. And again, you can go back and watch all the videos I did before they hired AP. These are the things that you're going to have to accept if you want somebody like AP, a new coach. They're going to, that's why you give him 20 games. And I specifically said he's going to hire some people who aren't going to work out. And he's going to have a chance to move on and get his staff set in those 20 games. Then I think the clock starts ticking. Still feel that way 110%. He has not lost this team at all. And they are as much on the AP train as they've ever been. And I think it's a big deal. Next one comes to us from Seth M. Seth M. And Seth says, Hondo, any chance that we could see Patrick Graham hired as the head coach next year? I don't see a scenario where the Raiders would hire Patrick Graham. I'm not saying Patrick isn't ready. I think Patrick will be a great NFL head coach if he's in a great opportunity. You know, you look at Ben Johnson in Detroit. One of the things that Ben does so smart is he's had a lot of chances to go a lot of places, but he's waiting for a good job. There are some jobs in the NFL that are not good jobs. They're terrible jobs. You say, well, yeah, but it's a lot of money. Yeah, but it's a place that you just know you're going to lose. It's a losing culture. It's a losing place. No guy wants to go there and get blown out and have his career be over before it gets started. That's why most bad jobs, you either have to overpay experienced people or you go get somebody that really, if you don't give them a shot, nobody else will. If it's a bad job. So I think Patrick Graham, if he got a good job, would be a very good coach. All right, let me give you an example. Okay, Butch Jones is one of my very best friends, and he coached at Central Michigan and was absolutely awesome. Then he went to Cincinnati, down to the Natty, did great with the Bearcats. Then he went to Tennessee, had the #1 recruiting class in the country, but then they had a bad season, and everybody in Tennessee wanted to run them out of town. Now, I love University of Tennessee. I think it's a great program. If you've never been there to a game, you should go there. Rocky Top's a great fight song. It's a great place. But Tennessee has a reputation as they'll turn on people super fast. And here he had the #1 recruiting class, but things went sideways in 1 year. Get rid of him, and he's gone. And they still haven't won a national title. He's now gone on, done a great job at Arkansas State. They're 7 wins this year, bowl eligible. But I remember saying to him before he took the job in Tennessee, he called me. What do you think? And I said to him, great place, great facilities, great fans. I said, but man, some jobs, Butch, they're not great jobs because if you go there, you're going to have to rebuild some things. There was a lot that had to be done. And it turned out he didn't, even though he had the #1 recruiting class in the country and things were going well, one bad season and you're gone. All right, no big deal. They paid him his buyout. He was financially compensated well. But as much, and I'm not speaking poorly of Tennessee, but there are some jobs where, okay, you know what? You go there and you rebuild them, and You maybe don't make as much as you make in Tennessee, and that's fair if you're Tennessee. Hey, we're paying the top's wages. You better come in and win right now. And that's the expectation. So I'm not ripping Tennessee in the least bit. It's a total expectation. But if you're Ben Johnson and you're with a winning franchise in Detroit, they're paying you well, you have a great relationship with your coach and general manager, you got great players. Why go take a crap job that you're going to get one season or maybe a year and a half? And when it doesn't work right away, the fans are, get rid of them. Stay where you're at. Wait for a good job to open. Wait for a really good job to open. And then you get that opportunity. Same way with Patrick Graham. I think Patrick will be a great coach in the NFL if he gets a good job. But the reason some of these guys go and fail is they're so desperate. They think, oh my God, I got to take the first head coaching job I get. No, that's a bad thing. That is a bad thing. You got to wait and find a job that you mesh with. Okay, look at Tennessee. That's a great job in college football for the right guy. I'm a Spartan. Michigan State is a great job for the right guy. But you've got to have the right guy in the right place. Okay, let's look at the Houston Texans. That was a really good job. D'Amico Ryans has gone in there and done great. It was not a great job when Lovie Smith took it, and everyone knew. I said it. This is a one and done deal. It wasn't a great job for Lovie. Now, I think the Houston Texans is a great job for D'Amico. And it's literally, it's not saying that every place is a crap hole. But what it's saying is that there are good jobs, and you want to make sure you've got a good job. You just don't jump. My father used to always say, sometimes the best job is the one you got. Sometimes the best job you got is the one you got. And it doesn't mean other job opportunities don't come, that you pray about it, you think about it, say, okay, I think that's the right thing. Many of you know this. So I uh loved Reggie White and consider him a friend. Obviously he's gone, but considered him a friend. We built a relationship away from football that had to do with things of the Lord. And I remember when he really knew God spoke to his heart to go to Green Bay. Now, it happened to be that Green Bay offered him the most money, and people mocked him. Oh, yeah, isn't it amazing? It happens to be God when it was the most money. Well, anybody, first of all, I want you to know I struggled as a friend to not get really angry when people said that, because if you knew Reggie, yes, Green Bay did offer the most money, but that had nothing to do with why he went there. He genuinely, sincerely believed that God told him to go there. And based on the lives that he touched, just even away from football, not just counting the on-field success. And he really touched a lot of lives. I believe it was. But the point is that he took that job because he thought that's what he's supposed to do. Well, he could have went a lot of other places, including stayed in Philly, where he was really willing to stay. He wanted to stay. He loved Philadelphia, loved the people, the organization, the team. He wasn't jumping just for the dimes. And sometimes guys get desperate and jump. I've seen guys who were free agents jump at teams with big money, and they went only to get cut. They didn't get all their money when the place that they were at really loved them and wanted them and saw them. I'm just saying, I think Patrick Graham will be a successful coach. If they move on from AP, I don't believe that this is where his greatest opportunity of success will be, just because of if they get rid of AP, I think there's going to be a direction change. And I don't know how much he fits that. Now, he very well may. I'm just going speculatively here. But I just think with him, it's going to be waiting for a good job, waiting for the right job. I think he would be perfect fit here as the DC. And but if they make a change with AP, I think the direction change may not fit him a little bit. Last one comes from Noah C. in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. He says, my wife and I recently found out we're going to have a child. I love your talk about being a dad, how much you loved your dad. Any advice? I got a couple things of advice, Noah. Number one, love their mom fiercely. You want your daughters to look at you and say, boy, that's the kind of guy I want to marry. I love the way he loves my mom. And you want your sons to learn how to love their wife and how to treat their wife by watching how you treat their mom. So let me give you an example. My wife, Shannon, never opens her own door if we're together, ever. I always open Shannon's door. Dexter now is 2 years and 5 months old. And he will run and go, no, Dada. And he runs trying to open his mama's door. It's a competition now. And as you know, I travel a lot. So his mama will stop and he'll run to the door and she'll say, are you opening the door for your mommy? Yes. That's how he says, yes. Yes, mama. Why? Because he sees daddy do it. Because he knows that that's the way we treat the ladies in our family. We honor them. Shannon's a strong woman. She can open her own door. Who cares? When Shannon comes in from getting groceries, she'll call me and she'll say, babe, I'm pulling in. Okay. It's not because she's lazy. It's because I've informed her. You come home with groceries, we'll come bring the groceries in. Not you. We want to serve you. Love their mama. With all my father loved my mother. Next is let yourself make mistakes. Now, every man and every woman, regardless of whether or not you're a parent, should read this book. It's by John Eldredge. It's called Wild at Heart. I have bought in cases, I mean, multiple cases of this book. I give it to everybody when we go to weddings. I give a copy to the groom and the bride. If we know people are having children and maybe we've met them afterwards, we give them copies of this book. Every man and woman, other than the Bible, this is my favorite book I've ever read. I read it every January. It is the book that explains men. If you're a woman, you need to read this book. It'll help you understand every single man in your life. If you're a man, you need to read it because it'll help you understand you, and then it will help you understand the men in your life. The next two books, Noah, that you have to read, and Wild at Heart is written by a Christian psychologist. I wouldn't call it a Christian dominant book, but it's certainly written from a Christ-centered um, worldview. These next two are not written from a Christian worldview. I don't know if either one of these people are Christians or not. I don't care because the materials. Well, I do care. I want them to be, but um, but the materials phenomenal. The next is by Lenore Skenazy called Free Range Kids. My wife and I just ordered a case of these. We're going to give these to all of our family members for Christmas who have children. It's Free Range Kids, How to Raise Safe, Self-Reliant Children Without Going Nuts with Worry. What this book, I read it on the way to Hawaii. Wow. I literally read it on the way to Hawaii. The next book I recommend, and I just ordered a case of these as well. We're giving Free Range Kids to everyone for Christmas, and we're giving this book also to everyone called Bad Therapy: Why the Kids Aren't Growing Up by Abigail Schreier. Bad Therapy: Why the Kids Aren't Growing Up by Abigail Schreier. It's not showing up. I don't know why. I'm sorry about that. I'm trying to make it, but it's Bad Therapy. I think it's working there. Bad Therapy: Why the Kids Are Not Growing Up. It's a best-selling author, and those three books, as a father, read them every year. Study. put effort into it. I learned I'll never forget, and if you don't mind, I wanna tell this story real quick. It's not a Raider specific story, but it's a great story. One time, my father made a very big mistake. He assumed I was wrong about something that I wasn't. And when he found out I wasn't wrong, we were in the middle of Giant Way grocery store, and he literally fell on his knees and he put his head in my stomach and hugged me and cried. I kept saying, "Dad, it's okay. It's okay. I forgave you. I wasn't mad at you. You made a mistake. You're human." My dad never tried to put himself on a pedestal. He used to always tell his kids, "Love God more than you love me, because I'm gonna fail, and when I do, I don't want if you put me on a place I shouldn't be," which is, my dad was God and he was above God. Well, when he fails you, and you will know it, you will fail as a dad. I failed many, many times. When you fail, if they put you at a place where only God should be, then they're gonna blame God. And so when my dad messed up, I didn't hold a grudge. I wasn't mad. I'm like, okay, he's wrong, but he's human and he's a great dad. I literally remember thinking those exact words. So when he found out, he didn't care that we were in the middle of a store. His heart was repentive. And he loved being a dad. My father's dad died when he was in eighth grade. And so he loved his dad. He and his dad were very close. My grandfather, his name was Ernie. That's where Dexter gets his Dexter Ernest Wayne Carpenter. Dexter was my great grandfather. Ernest was my grandfather, and Wayne was my father's middle name. So Dexter Ernest Wayne is named after his great, 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 and grandpa. Because we knew he didn't have our blood, but we want him to know he has his heritage. He's a carpenter. But my father made it a point that when he failed, he was quick to repent. I know I screwed up. I'm sorry. And he gave us a great example. He loved our mom, he loved the Lord, and he loved us. And so my sister Renee was here, and I got to get to spend a little time with her. And uh, my wife Shannon said, "I love it when you're with your brothers and sisters because you guys all talk about your dad all the time." And we do, because we never put him on a pedestal that he shouldn't have been, but his heart was to serve. If you want to be a great dad, Noah, be a servant, serve your family, work hard to provide. Don't let them hear you complain, because when you complain, then they think, oh my God, I'm not worth it, or I'm a burden, and love their mama. All right, Raider Nation, thanks for joining us. Hope you have a wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow talking more Raiders. God bless you.